shawty.
Kill confirmed. We located the rest of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and NBs, welcome back to Warzone, and it's Season 4 Reloaded, and we got a new gun in the shotgun of the Reclaimer 18, or Spaz 12, as it's known in the real world. One of the best shotguns ever made. I'll nerd over it in my own time, just saying. But before we get into this, please make sure to like the video and subscribe if you are new here. Over 90% of my viewers are not subscribed, and that is a travesty. Alright, so with the Reclaimer, there's a couple of things we need to talk about first. Number one, it has pump action and semi-auto just with hitting a button to toggle the fire modes. This is wonderful because it gives us two separate ways to use the gun. With the pump action, we have a longer range and we do roughly the same damage, but we can absolutely fry out to about 20 meters. With the semi-auto, we can push rooms and absolutely dump entire quads, just doofing away. There's another way to make these two modes stand out even further with ammo types. Before we get into the ammo types, however, I do need to explain. With buckshot, Dragon's Breath, with these two, you have 4 pellets per shot, and that is your spread. That's why you use things like chokes. With Bolo, you only have 2, and they're tied together, so they can only get so far apart. Of course, slugs are just slugs. So for our pump action build, we're actually going to use Bolo shells, and the reason we're going to use Bolo is it's going to bring our damage up by 113%, double our damage range in the effective, 20% to our minimum, as well as giving us 20% to recoil control. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go for a stock, and well, we're not going to use the no stock attachment because the iron sights on it are absolutely awful, and this is an iron sight build. So we're going to use the Hinge LAF night stock. It's going to give us a bunch of aim down sight, sprint to fire, movement, and it's going to help our hip and tack stance. The next attachment we're going to go for is actually the brand new underbarrel that they added with this gun, and that is the GRVZ short grip. And this attachment, I think it's going to become very popular on a lot of tack stance SMG builds, because this attachment is giving you 16% to your tack stance, as well as 9 to your hip fire minimum and 11 to your max, costing you 1% ADS and 2% sprint to fire. Such a clutch attachment. From here, obviously, we do need a long barrel, and we only have one option on this gun, and that is the Discourager 900 heavy barrel, because the other two both are not good attachments. I don't even know why they put them in the game. And then we have one attachment left, and of course, this is where the choke comes in. And with the Bolo rounds, we're going to use a choke that's going to give us damage range as well as tighten up our spread. I did want to talk about suppressors really quick. Suppressors are absolutely worthless unless you're using slugs or explosive shells. Reason being, you don't get any way to tighten up your pellets, or in the case of the Bolo, the Bolo. Suppressors do keep you off the mini-map, but they hurt your range as well. For the Bolo build, we are going to use the Extend modified choke because this is going to give us 5% to our effective range, bringing it to 6 meters, and then we're going to have 23.5 meters of minimum damage range, meaning that we can kill people all the way out to 23.5 meters. It will cost us 3% recoil control, but it gives a ton of hip fire and tack stance as well, and a 3% penalty to our ADS. And the reason we are worrying slightly about our hip fire is because typically you will hip fire your first shot as you ADS, and then you will continue to fire from there. It is possible to get a one tap with this gun in the first damage range. This build is phenomenal. However, if you want something a little more aggressive and you want to throw fire at people, blind them a little bit with the doof, naturally we're going to swap the build over to the Dragon's Breath to start that. And then the next change that we'll make is we're going to change our stock to the no stock, because this is a tack stance build and it absolutely fries. We're going to change our choke from the modified choke because we're not too much worried about pushing the effective damage range, as we are worried about bringing our shots closer together as far as the pellet spread. We get a 38% boost to pellet spread while aim down sight, we get 15% while in tack stance, and then we get around 15 to 16% while in hip fire. It will cost us 10% recoil control and 2% ADS. This is my favorite attachment for shotguns in the game. And then the last change we're going to make is we're actually going to drop that foregrip, and we're going to go with a laser, and there's two options here. You can use the Chimera RYL 33 laser light to get your sprint and aim downs up and gain 17% to your tack stance. This is a perfectly good option. However, you can also go with the Stovall tack laser and get an even larger to your hip fire and still get the tack stance. This is the laser laser I choose because, like I said, I'm going to hip fire as I pull up in attack stance. So this is the one for me. However, if you want to use the Chimera, go right ahead. And if you don't want to use a laser, you absolutely can use the foregrip from the other build in the GRVZ short grip. None of those 3 attachments are wrong in this last slot. However, this build is so aggressive. You can push buildings and dump entire quads by yourself and still have a shell or 2 left over. It is insane. Between these 2 builds, I personally prefer the Bolo, but this one is really fun to use as well. I have not tried slugs yet, and I doubt there's a viable slug build for Warzone. However, I bet they're pretty fun in multiplayer, but this is the Reclaimer 18. I absolutely think it's top tier meta, and it can take on the SMGs to about 20 or 24 meters. So if you're good with a shotgun, definitely put it in your loadout. The Bolo build is a lot of fun, and the Dragon's Breath build is absolutely insane. And there's my thoughts on the Reclaimer 18. Tomorrow I'm bringing you my top 5 loadouts for the season. I hope to see you there. Again, subscribe because over 90% of my viewers are not. And until next time, boys, leave me alone and like the video.
I wanna be the biggest in the world. I wanna be the biggest in the world. I wanna be the biggest in the world.